Hello everyone, happy Friday, happy winter, welcome to a Baltic Archant Towers. That's why Paddy has got his gloves on and why I'm wearing a scarf. I don't normally wear a scarf indoors, I can assure you, but it's pretty nippy here. That said, we could just be being
no, we're not,
softies after what we had at Colney today.
Oh, well, yeah, maybe, yeah. In that context, definitely, yeah.
In that context, indeed. We did schleck along to Colney to have a quick chat with Daniel Farke ahead of what was supposed to be, of course, Norwich City's trip to Barnsley. That has been postponed. It was postponed just before we spoke to Daniel. Has been rearranged for
Tuesday, March the 13th, 7:45.
So Tuesday week. So that's going to come around pretty quickly. But it does mean that we've got a free weekend. So make the most of it, people. Hopefully there's still some snow to enjoy with it. And Daniel, probably one of the things he came out with, which was very interesting, was the difference in attitude from his players to the snow, Paddy.
Pretty scathing, I thought, yeah, with a big smile on his face. But yeah, that's full-on banter there today, no doubt about it. Without wanting to go into too much about the nationality differences, it seemed to be the British lads thought they would have a day or two off. The German lads were there, bang on time, punctual as ever. Make your own regional national stereotypes from that, but when it's Farke saying it, it's fair game, isn't it? So yeah, there was some amusing lines. Obviously the video, the actual text, they're all upon the PinkUn.com. If you haven't seen it already, highly recommend that. Have a chuckle. What he said, Marley Watkins, the big tough Welshman, apparently there's too much snow on the bonnet of his car. Nelson weren't having it, even though Louis Thompson, who lives 2 doors down, was already at Colney.
You'd think they'd be sort of coordinating it together,
Obviously
really,
not.
wouldn't they? Louis, don't go in.
Well,
then we both won't have
obviously,
to go in.
Obviously, I'm trying to think whether any other... Yeah, Jamal Lewis, even though they delayed training from morning to afternoon, 10 to 1, still thought, are you having a laugh, gaffer? He was told, clearly in no uncertain terms, to get himself into the training ground. And on we went. So, yeah, no, it was all fun and games. All we were missing was a snowball fight, really.
Which probably happened before we got there, to be honest, at Colney. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it was a strange little setup at Colney today, wasn't it? Because there weren't many of us. Get your questions and comments in if you're watching. Let us know where you're watching from, and if there's anything you want to ping our way, we'll do our best to answer. But it was noticeably more relaxed. I think Daniel took his time over quite a few of the answers. I think the other video I put up from your chat with him is about 10 minutes long, and it's 3 answers, pretty much. And we actually got a nice envelope, if that's the right word, into Daniel Farke's philosophy on football.
Yeah, what did you make of that?
I thought it was really well, it's interesting. Basically, Daniel said that football is the most unfair sport in the world. Because the score's so tight, and therefore you can sort of nick one without deserving to. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of teams in the Championship and most leagues who think that if they nick something 1-0 because they've defended really well and what have you, then they deserve it. But I think Daniel feels maybe that's easier in that sport than, say, well, handball was one of his examples, but I'm not too au fait with handball. But basketball, athletics, what have you. Logic.
Yeah, tennis.
I mean, I can't think of many people who played poorly in tennis, I suppose, and still...
I think it was the volume of points. It seems to sort of revolve around the volume of the points, the volume of the scoring systems. Basketball can be 180, and he said if the other team has a bit of luck, it'll be 190, but the 100 will still prevail. So I suppose that's the nature of the scoring, isn't it? But esteemed colleague Chris Lakey pointed out, and give him his due, he wouldn't know too much about cricket, but I mean, cricket is... It's a similar type of sport in the sense that...
There's Chris. Give us a wave, Chris. There he is. Peterborough's finest.
5 days and you end up with a draw. So, I don't think it's the preserve of football, but I don't know. I don't know if that's what he thinks. I mean, he's made his career and his life in football, so he can't think it's that unfair, can he?
Well, that's true.
To be fair.
I mean, we have had a few Daniel Farke-isms, I guess would be the best way, over the course of this season, haven't we? Anecdotes and stories.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. Yeah, it's all good stuff.
Just like it.
Yeah, he's a very engaging character.
And I was flicking through the sort of thumbnails for some of the videos and the different expressions and where his arms are. He's engaging visually to watch as well.
Yeah.
So there we go. But of course, we didn't have any team news particularly. We know the game's off. We know it's been rearranged. In terms of the fact that it's quite a quick turnaround, Pad, that the game's been organised, it's in under a fortnight, isn't it? Basically 10 days' time. So it's probably beneficial for everyone that it gets done pretty quickly.
I think that's not the week that ends. I think that's the week that leads into an international break. So in terms of the Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday nature, then you can probably think, well, that's not a bad idea because then you've got the 2 weeks off after Reading, isn't it?
Yes, that's it.
Reading.
Yep.
So, yeah, I can see the logic from Norwich's point of view. But obviously, in an ideal world, you'd rather be travelling up to Yorkshire on a Saturday rather than a Tuesday. From their point of view, I'd imagine they're in a decent little run of form now, and because they're down there scrapping, I would imagine they would want that game to come around as soon as possible. So time will tell, but you know, it's just an 8. I mean, I don't know. I've lost track now. I've not checked in the last couple of hours how many games have gone by the wayside, but I think by 3 o'clock tomorrow there won't be too many games happening around the Football League. So what can you do? That's the way it is.
I did see a little line from Nottingham Forest, who of course come down to Carrow Road on Tuesday night. They are hoping still that their game against Bristol City will beat the weather, and they are unbeaten in 4, I think. So I don't know if that's...
I thought it was Sheffield Wednesday at Bristol City.
Oh.
I might be wrong on that one. Yeah.
Maybe someone could let us know, because we'll obviously be talking to you. But yeah, I think Forest clearly still hoping their game takes place. So I mean, that would do Norwich a favour, really.
Yeah. And to be fair, it was going to be a similar scenario tomorrow because Barnsley were at Hull in midweek. So as much as we had Daniel, I think it was festive period, wasn't it, where he was having a moan up at was it Millwall had an extra day or two. Swings and roundabouts, isn't it? But unfortunately, they've not got the rub of that one tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, if Forest game survived the snap, they're going to have to come off the back of that quick turnaround. Whereas, as Daniel mapped out, there's a double session plan this afternoon now, having trained first thing Friday, day off tomorrow, and then straight back in Sunday, Monday. So
if they can get in,
if there's no
doesn't
more snow.
Priceless. Let's have a look at some questions. Neil Austin, scarf and gloves. He's not happy about that. Come on, lads, he says. You're not here, Neil. It's cold.
No, I tell you, it's cold. It's colder in here than it is outside.
It is. That's exactly spot on. So there we go. But he does ask a proper question as well, Neil. Good afternoon, Neil, by the way. Anything in the possibly cryptic tweet, well, I think it is cryptic tweet from the club, which, of course, basically says 8/3/18, building for the future, which is Thursday, I'm guessing.
I think we can add a little bit to that, can't we?
I would say so. And I actually think some of it's... I don't think it's Angus Gunn signing a contract.
I'm pretty sure it's not Angus Gunn signing a contract, yeah.
But what, of course, we saw let's break down the video. We saw lots of Norwich City Academy products. We've already had, I think, a lot of teeing up from interviews in the last months about the fact that there's a lot of work that needs to go on at Colney to make sure they secure EPPP Category 1 status over the coming seasons. There's a lot of building work going on at Colney at the moment. They're actually levelling off a lot of the pitches, and we know they want to build some new dressing rooms, and we also, as Steve Weaver told me, I think last year, they are looking to build something bigger in terms of an academy building. There was also no academy donation in the season ticket renewal stuff that went out in January. So I guess that kind of distills it all into they'll probably want some money from somewhere for something they're going to build.
I think you've pretty much hit nail in head there, my friend. So yeah, I mean that's clearly what it's leading up to, and all will be revealed by this time next week, I think.
I mean, we don't actually know. That's the reality.
I think we're in the right ballpark, though, mate. Let's be honest. So I think we can probably hazard a guess. As you rightly say, if they're putting out videos. To be honest, I've not even watched the video. I'll just sort of start.
Well, it starts with Angus.
Angus, yeah.
We've got a bit of Josh, a bit of Jamal.
Okay.
Bit of Alfie Payne's in there.
Is he?
Current under-18 side. Shame about the FA Youth Cup.
What could link all them together, I wonder? The fact that they came through Norwich's academy.
I think that could be it.
Stuart Webber, the piece I think I went and did with him most recently, said there was going to be some announcements about the academy and further developments in terms of how you fund that moving forward, because we all know the financial situation here now is going to be pretty challenging, and that's not just at the top end, i.e. the first team squad and trying to overhaul that. That's all the way down now, and that includes the academy. And as you rightly said, EPPP is a quite expensive method to try and have. down the road. I don't think Ipswich have got it. They're Category 2. So Norwich have got the only Category 1 in the east of England. They feel that benefits them, and they will... It's quite clear, Stuart Webb was quite clear, I think, now it comes back to me, that they wish to retain that status, but in doing that, they obviously have to tick certain boxes when it comes to audits, in terms of the infrastructures you mapped out there. And obviously, to enable them to do that, and clearly there will need to be, some astute financial planning moving forward. And I'm sure, as I say, the actual finer detail of that, we'll probably start to get an idea of it next week.
I think they really do want the category status, but they really want to make it pay now, don't they, as well? I think they feel like they just haven't got enough out of it for that expense in recent
terms
years,
of first team
in terms of producing players and getting players on the pitch, and clearly Daniel plays a key role in opening those doors. So there's a lot maybe to happen. Let's have a look at what else we've got on here. Stuart Cousins, is the break due to the snow going to be a setback or a gain in performance? So they're going to get a few days extra recovery. I mean, I don't think it's much in terms of injuries, really, because actually Norwich's injury situation wasn't too bad going into it, and Tim Closer's injury wasn't that bad that kept him out of the Bolton game. So, and the ones that are out long term, really, aren't they? So generally, it's just a couple of days extra rest.
I'm actually... partially injury, but obviously some very good news in the Pinto household in the last few days. You got the sense that he probably wouldn't have played tomorrow. So, now that's gone. He's back, flights permitting, into Norwich Saturday, and will be there Sunday training with the players. So that could actually work in their favour, I think. Trying to think, Steeperman we knew about, Tribal we knew about, Thompson we know about. Jarvis isn't anywhere near it at the minute. So, I don't think it hurts, does it, to have an extra day or two? But I don't know in terms of the performance level where it's going to make a massive difference. But take everything going, really. Yeah,
indeed. Samuel Walden, we must beat Forest on Tuesday. It would be nice to break the drawing run, and of course back at Carrow Road again as well. Forest got done 5-1, wasn't it, last season? Was that the Johnny House and...
Yeah. Versus Wes Houlihan, goal of the season competition. That
was a special one. Richard Caston, why do you both keep referring to Daniel Farke as the German? I guess that's when we write it down, is it?
I don't recall
the German head coach.
I think we were talking about his nationality at the outset, because that was the amusing anecdote.
Videos at YouTube, PinkUn.com and on YouTube. Dan Mayhew, he loves Daniel's response to the snow issues. Hashtag I braved the snow for work. I'm with Dan. Wonder what you do, Dan. Well done for braving the snow. I've stayed at home, to be honest. But we're lucky we can work from home. David Spinks, Forest versus Birmingham. Yes, not Bristol City. BCFC, see, easily confused. Will Steve Cottrell still be in charge? I think they're busy looking for his replacements at the moment, having not sacked him.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. He's still in the job, but, hawk it around. What else have we got here? Roger Martins, I'm really warming to Daniel Farke. Sure, he's made mistakes and will continue to do so as he learns, but his understanding of what's needed to succeed in England is improving, and he's accepted the extremely strained financial circumstances he's walked into with good humour and not used it as an excuse. Thank you, Roger. The key point that really came out of the presser was you, Paddy, quizzing him on where Norwich go in terms of their goal scoring issues, which he answered really articulately. Yeah. He's fully aware of them, isn't he? Yeah. But also how it looks, into the future, into a few windows. What did you make of what he said?
Well, he kind of mapped out what I think we all know, really, that in his view there's two ways you basically solve the issues with the goal scoring. Nobody could deny that there is an issue with the goal scoring, because the black and white figures are there in the league table. And for him, it's you improve the current players, or being you bring in better players in terms of attacking quality. But as I followed up there, that's all well and good, but proven championship strikers cost money, and Norwich don't have the financial wherewithal to attract that type of player. And he acknowledged that, but he just would reiterate that it's about being creative. And trying to be a little bit cannier in terms of their recruitment. But inevitably, by doing that, you're talking a Dennis Shrabeni coming in, who's scored goals at a lower level in Germany. but there's no guarantee he's going to be able to repeat that in the English Championship. So inevitably, I think it's kind of what we've seen in the first two windows under the Farke Stuart Webber axis will continue on into the summer and beyond, and that is every piece of business they do will probably contain inherently a degree of risk, because they can't go and, for want of a better phrase, go and buy off the shelf 25 goal man in the Championship, because they're not in that financial stratosphere anymore. So that's basically where he's coming from. He knows full well he's got to get goals out of this squad now. Either the answer lies within the squad or it lies outside the squad, and if it's outside the squad, it's difficult. It's difficult because, as I say, as he said himself, he'd love to have a 20 goal a season man who's done it for 7 seasons in the Premier League and the Championship. Of course he would. Any head coach would want that, because there's a higher probability that they're going to come here and do the same. But that isn't the reality. The finances dictate they have to go down a different route, and you just hope, really, that maybe Shrubeni in times, this time next season, he'll know what the Championship's all about, and we see the sort of progression we've seen from a Zimmerman or a Tribal, but there's no guarantee with that. So I guess it just puts an even greater onus on their recruitment and going into markets that there's value for money, and that there's still gems to be found, because if not, we might be still sat here talking about how do Norwich score goals again. And he made the point, and it may be stating the obvious, but they're not going to be a promotion contender if they don't find an answer to this. If they can't score goals and put teams away, as he said, they've had 34 league games, not one of them has been easy, where they've battered a team, as you said earlier on, talking about Nottingham Forest last season, the amount of times Norwich put teams to the sword and the game was done and dusted. As he said, 96 minutes and they're still hanging on, or preserving a slender lead kind of thing, until they cross that Rubicon and find a solution. Then they're not going to progress up the league table, and it's going to be hovering around the top 10, I think. So they know it, we know it, every fan out there knows it. Can they find a solution?
And he broke down at one point the goals from midfield they had last year from Johnny House and Graham Dorrans, Alex Pritchard, of course, who was missing for most of this year, injured, and the fact that Mario Vrancic hasn't scored, Alex Tettey won't get you goals, Tom Trouble's had a couple, but it's hard, isn't it? Because as the whole thing comes down to whether those players can actually improve and chip in with goals, or whether you've just got to accept that the level isn't there, that those goals are going to come from those situations and those players. Spencer Copland sort of expands the point. Do we have any money from recent transfers to come, as parachute payments, of course, finish soon? How can we hope to go for promotion next season unless we sell? And of course, this is again, Daniel at one point touched on what the goal would be going forward, but he knows as much as anyone that he can say what the goal is now with the squad he's got. But you sell James Maddison for 20 million quid and have 5 million quid to invest next year, you've got a massive hole to fill just to maintain your level. Well, it's not a great position. No. It doesn't feel like it's hard to be optimistic about that kind of situation, I suppose. Well,
that is as you map it out there, is looking at it, weighing everything up, is probably the scenario that will present itself this summer, that they will have to sell to bring anybody in, and their most saleable asset is a young English midfielder who's scored 9 goals as we sit here today, and however many assists, and who will attract interest from the Premier League undoubtedly. So if the figures are right, then as they were with Johnny House and Graham Dorrans, Jacob Murphy, Alex Pritchard, the deal will get done, and as you rightly also say, they won't be seeing the full weight of the transfer fee. It'll be a proportion of it, and until the ship has been righted, then that's the way it will be from now on. Yeah, I mean, without going away and working out the figures again, I think it's safe to say that there has been a surplus transfer-wise in the last 2 windows, but the brutal reality is, when the parachute money ends, they're going to have to plug £20-25 million worth of hole on the balance sheet. That's where that money is probably earmarked.
Ouch. Dan Mayhew asks, he says he works in a research lab. Good job, Dan. Is it possible if Madders is sold for a high fee, could maybe get him to be loaned back?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, but depends which club he goes into, doesn't it? I mean, if it's the top end of the Premier League, then I think it's unrealistic to think he would go in and be starting at that level. So said club might then want to maybe go and get him some games, but I think the reality is then they would probably look at a lower level Premier League club and think that's a better, because he's basically proven at this level now. So why come back to a level he's already proven at, where you could put him in lower down the tree in the Premier League, and just that would still then present itself as another step up in his development. So I don't really see it. You know, if that scenario happens and James Maddison departs, I do not then see him coming back, because I think A, he'll go to a top end Premier League club, and B, they would probably feel that the Premier League is his next breeding ground.
Let's skip through a couple more. Spencer Copland, we have a great training ground and infrastructure. Do you think it's just a matter of time before a foreign businessman buys the club? And I guess it could also be a foreign businesswoman.
Do I think?
Yeah.
No. You know the answer to that. So, and these people, they know the answer to that. It's not. There's no point in the near future that scenario is going to happen, because the people at the top of the board have made it quite clear that they're not actively looking for investment, and that's not a route they want to go down. So, what changes?
David Spinks, are we likely to see Matt Jarvis, Louis Thompson play this season or at all? I don't think there's anything particularly new on either of them. I personally can't see Louis Thompson playing this year, just because of... I'm guessing they'll just wait and they'll take their time and see if they can get it right ahead of pre-season.
Yeah.
That's just an inkling I have. Matt Jarvis, I guess he would have played in the under-23s game this afternoon, but got called off, didn't it, I think?
Yeah.
So,
did yeah.
He'll get a go soon, so maybe. Do you reckon we'll see Matt in a yellow shirt before the end of the season? One little outing, 10 minutes.
Yeah. Why not?
That's the way, Pad. That's the way. And then finally, Stuart Cousins. If it's cold in here, put the heating on. Have a whip round the office for a few quid and pay the gas bill. Should we do that?
No.
No.
It's for others to dip their hands into their pocket.
It is a bit nippy. Hence why we're going to put an end to this and get into our warm homes, I think. But thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much, Pad.
Thanks.
That was very successful. We will have a good weekend yourselves, and we'll see you on the other side. Press conference at Colney scheduled for Monday, of course, when ahead of Nottingham Forest visit to Carrow Road on Tuesday night. You'll be able to have all the build-up, live coverage and analysis at PinkUn.com. We will see you then. Have a very good evening.